What's up, everybody? I am your host, an eccentric roller coaster designer who is super rich and loves a pencil mustache. And that is my co-host, an old evil house fueled by revenge who can use the internet for murder. And welcome to the Grindhouse on Haunted Hill. Get it? Grindhouse on Haunted Hill.
I did.
You get it? Okay.
I got it.
Yeah, you got it.
Good shit.
But anyway, welcome to the show where this week we travel back in time to when I was 12 and seen this movie and thought it was awesome. And I can confidently say I have officially altered my opinion on the House on Haunted Hill from 1999.
Damn.
I mean,
got an idea where that's going.
I have some good and I have some bad things to say about this particular remake.
It seems to be a running theme with Dark Castle movies for me.
Yeah.
That they seem awesome when you're a kid, and then when we do these deep dives, maybe not as awesome as I remember. Although House of Wax was one. Knowing what I know now about practical effects and some of the stuff we learned in that movie, I had a better appreciation for it after. But the other big ones around this time.
Yeah, these movies were, I don't know, man. I don't know if it was like I watched them differently when I was younger, but now going back and watching them, just like I don't have the same like feeling towards them as I do like, watching like the old Freddy's, the old Jasons, where like especially with the Freddy's, there was some very laughable things that happened in the later ones. It's like, oh, come on, that's ridiculous. But I still love them. But going back and watching these movies, I don't have that like, oh, that was ridiculous, but I still love it. I'm just like, oh, man, that's not as good as I remember.
Yeah, and I think when we're younger, these movies are fun. They're
fun.
They're fun movies. They're not, but when you do a deep dive on a lot of like really serious, especially with all the like really good independent, really awesome cinematography.
You think we've been spoiled?
Yeah, well, no, not necessarily. Well, in a way, yeah. I'll say that I just think from the eyes of a kid watching something, and then when you're an adult and you know more, and you have a larger palette, a larger taste for some of the movies that have recently covered, and just a lot of the movies we've gotten recently. Going back and watching a movie like this, you have to have the right state of mind for it. Like, you got to know what you're getting into.
Well, I kind of pondered it after I watched this movie the first time this week. And I kind of pondered like what is like if I could get to the root of why I don't like these movies as much as I did back then, and I've come up with, I believe, the answer. For me, it's the characters always suck. They're very predictable, and I always hate the dialogue. Like there's so much just dumb dialogue in these movies, and it's not the movies aren't scary, like the effects aren't good, the creatures aren't scary, maybe the plot is okay, but it really comes down to I'm like, I hate all of these characters. I don't like any of them.
Well, if you look at Dark Castle, that is a theme of all of their movies.
Actually,
like all of their big movies has the same issue, and they're very, very weak characters.
I think I said this about House of Wax, where I was like, I hate all the characters.
Yeah, the
and the dialogue. I remember I hated the dialogue. I remember I said like the first half of the movie was trash.
And that's one of the better out of the four big ones that Dark Castle started with. I think, what made that movie shine was the practical effects. I think Dark Castle movies they have a really, really kind of generic horror theme, but ones that we're all familiar with. And they take that and they put it in a really awesome set, like a really cool setting, or some like 13 Ghosts has really cool fucking characters, and they give us a bunch of weak-ass characters in a very, very simplistic storyline.
I feel like with the Dark Castle movies is really like, it's like kind of, it's like Blumhouse has kind of copied some of that
Damn.
Yeah. Um, because, Blumhouse had some really good movies for a long time, and then they kind of started pushing out these movies where their characters suck, the dialogue sucks, and they're really good looking movies. They're attractive looking movies, but when you watch it, you're just like, you know, this I'll pass. Not saying that Blumhouse can't make a good movie, but the majority is like they're pushing out so many kind of generic horror movies that they don't really stop to put good bones in it.
Yeah. Blumhouse too is there's a lot of remakes, and that was big. That was Dark Castle,
Yeah.
and but not really paying homage to the original
Yeah.
very much, adding a lot of these horror tropes. And very, I've mentioned it on the show, and it happens in almost every Dark Castle movie. It happens a couple times in this, where there's just lazy writing, where it's like they'll put something in there and it doesn't make sense, and that's okay for these type of movies, but at least try.
Well,
Like, at least try to make it make some sense.
I think that we're going to see something interesting where, 15, 20 years from now, people are going to go back and watch some of these Blumhouse movies that they went to the theater and seen, they loved it. All these movies that are making $100 million a year, they're going to watch them. And then I think they're going to have the same problem we're having now with these Dark Castle movies, where they're going to be like, this is not as good as I remember it being.
Yeah, I'll stay with these movies though. I like these Dark Castle movies better than the bad Blumhouse movies that come out, because there is that nostalgia. There's
Oh,
that
yeah.
that
I
look
agree.
back to that time. And one thing I will say that they do really good in these movies that maybe Blumhouse doesn't as much is every one of their movies has a really, really good set.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
the
I agree.
settings, it's just the characters that are weak. Really, 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 really good sets. Besides 13 Ghosts, which was a really good
It
set
was
for what
really
it
cool
was.
looking.
Yeah.
It's just kind of dumb.
Yeah. Now, I mentioned this in the episode. This house is the house that 13 Ghosts should have taken place
I
in.
100% agree.
It would have made 13 Ghosts a way better movie. And the ghosts from 13 Ghosts are the ghosts we should have gotten in this movie instead of the CGI. And it would have made not the same characters, but the same premise, like actual physical bodied ghosts
Mm-hmm.
that they can go in and make fucking super awesome. Be a huge opportunity to make these awesome, scary characters. It would have elevated this movie a lot, especially in the back end where we get some very, very, very good 1999 CGI.
You'll be a little surprised. I got a little slither of info about that.
It was not CGI, it was a real ghost.
It was
was
a real ghost, yeah. But before we jump into this movie, if you don't know, it was just announced. Terrifier 4 is officially a go. It's big news. We ain't even got Terrifier 3 yet, and we already got Terrifier 4 coming down the pipeline. I like it.
Yeah, that's super exciting. Since we're doing the news, I don't think we mentioned this on the show. It was a couple weeks ago that it came out that Mike Flanagan was the one that actually went after The Exorcist.
Yeah.
I bring this up now because it's something I was like, damn, I wish we'd have mentioned that. But it came out that that movie was a big inspiration to him. And he's the one that wanted to take it over. And he says that he is trying to make the scariest movie that he's ever made.
I remember when I seen that, like, I rushed to tell you because, we thought Blumhouse went after him, but no, as soon as David Gordon Green and his situation kind of just took a big nosedive, he actually went to Blumhouse and was like, dude, just let me do it. And I'm so thankful that they decided to do that.
Yeah, it was reported that they actually went after Mike Flanagan. It hadn't come out as the other way around yet. I feel like Mike Flanagan got 15 minutes into that movie and was like, I'm going to take this movie. This shit's mine. And the fact that it was a huge movie, a huge inspiration to him, I feel like he's going to pay homage really well to the original. So that has, there's not many people in this world that they could have gotten to reignite my excitement for that. Because you remember when they first announced they were
Yeah,
doing The Exorcist, I was bummed out from the beginning because it's one of my favorite movies. Mike Flanagan is the man. He's the man that can do it.
I'm very excited. So stick around to the end of the show because we do have a little bit of a cool little Terrifier announcement to share. So we'll talk about that at the very end. With that being said, those who survive this whole episode until dawn will receive a check for 1 million pieces of pocket lint.
That's a lot of pocket lint.
It is. I've been collecting for some time.
I thought you were gonna say ball hairs.
Nope.
1 million
Now, I
ball
thought
hairs.
about that and I was like, it'd take a long time to get 1 million ball hairs.
Well, in order to get it, you have to either leave a rating, or if you're on YouTube, you have to comment. You have to let us know you made it to the end, or you're not gonna get your lint.
Let us know if you really liked this movie back in the day and you have a different feeling about it, or if you still think it's the fucking bee's knees. All right, so with that being said, let the games begin.
Hello, boys and ghouls. If you want to stay up to date on what's going on with the show, talk about or submit your movie requests, or just say die, then I got good news for you. You can always find us at one of our social media accounts or our official website at Grindhouse.Horror.Pod.com, Facecrook at the Grindhouse Syndicate Horror Podcast, Instascam at grindhousesyndicate.horror.pod, and many gore, which you can always find links for in the show notes as always. And you know what I always say, the morgue, the merrier. So please subscribe or follow for alerts on new episodes. Now, back to the show, kiddies. Frights, camera, action.
And if you really love us and don't want us to have to compete in a contest where we might be killed by an evil ghost for money, give us a 5-star review. Alright, so House on Haunted Hill is a 1999 American supernatural horror film directed by William Malone and starring Geoffrey Rush, Famke Janssen, Taye Diggs, Ali Lauder, Bridget Wilson, Peter Gallagher, and Chris Kattan. The plot follows a group of strangers who are invited to a party at an abandoned insane asylum where they are offered $1 million each by an amusement park mogul if they are able to survive the night. Produced by Robert Zemeckis and Joel Silver, it is a remake of the 1959 film of the same title, directed by William Castle. And it features special effects by famed makeup artists Greg Nicotero and Dick Smith. It was written by Dick Beebe, produced by Dark Castle Entertainment, and had a budget of $19 million with a box office of $43 million ball hairs.
I knew it was coming.
Yeah, it's coming. Now, this was the first ever movie for the production company Dark Castle, who went on to produce many other horror movies such as 13 Ghosts, Ghost Ship, Gothica, and even House of Wax. They should have named it the Ghost House Productions.
Yeah.
A lot of the titles either have ghost or house in them.
Yeah, they like those ghost movies.
Yeah. It premiered in Los Angeles on October 27th of 1999 at the Man Village Theater. It was released theatrically in the United States 2 days later on October 29th, opening at number 1 in the U.S. box office and earning over $15 million in sales in its opening weekend. This was a number 1 movie at that time, and it was right before Halloween.
I could see it though. I mean, these movies did really well at this time. You got to remember the 90s were a crazy time for horror movies. I mean, we had like all the franchises we grew up and loved went crazy in the 90s. That's when we had Jason Goes to Hell, and we had Halloween with all the cult shit.
I wonder.
And I mean, just all of them got crazy. Just the range of types of horror movies that were made in the 90s, it was wild time. It was the Wild West.
I wonder what it was up against. Let's see.
Probably nothing. If it was number one.
Okay. So the horror movies that came out in October of 1999 was this movie, Audition, which is a really good movie, but obviously it didn't come out in theaters here. The movie Bats,
Hmm.
which is
That sounds
kinda
like we need to cover that.
we do.
Bats.
It's like ticks, but with bats. A movie called The Nameless I've never heard of. From Dusk Till Dawn 3, pretty sure that wasn't even in theaters. Children of the Corn 666, Isaac's Return, also not in theaters. Attack of the Bat Monsters. Apparently it was a
Damn.
bat year.
Yes, it was Bat Year. The year of the bat.
Yeah, not much. Okay.
Well, what about other movies though? If it
Uh,
was number one in the box office,
yeah.
obviously no big time movies came out that month.
Good question. The Elmo movie came out.
Yeah.
The movie Superstar with Will Ferrell. There was an Animal Farm movie. Didn't know that. I'm still not seeing anything that's better than this movie. No, literally nothing.
Well, they literally picked the best month and year
Yeah.
in the history to come out with this movie.
Yeah.
What great strategy.
So Joel Silver and Robert Zemeckis had discussed remaking William Castle's 1959 film as early as 1997. Director William Malone was a fan of the original film, which he had seen in his childhood, which served as the reason for his directing. Co-producer Gilbert Adler noted that the unethical psychiatric methods and experimental procedures featured in the film were loosely based on medical experiments conducted by the Nazis. The special effects in the film were designed by Greg Nicotero and Robert Kurtzman, with additional makeup designed by Dick Smith in his last film credit.
Bro, Dick Smith sounds like a made up fucking name.
Yeah, it does.
I feel like Greg Nicotero made that shit up.
So the morphing mass of Ghost featured at the film's climax was designed by KNB Effects and was inspired by the visuals of H.P. Lovecraft novels. According to Malone, much of the visual elements were actually not computer generated and were actually made up of footage shot by the production crew, which was grafted together to form the mass. That's interesting. I do know that...
I feel like that still counts as CGI though.
Well, there's a laying film over top of itself. I've been doing that since like the 30s. I do know though that that Son of the Outside Cloud, where you see like women in there, all right? So that I believe that was CGI because they actually got a bunch of nude models to do some modeling or whatever, and then they stuck them in there.
Yeah, there's a lot of parts where this black mass is like running up the wall and through like under doors and fucking looking like fog, like what we want our fog machine to look like when we set up our Halloween decoration.
Yeah, we need some CGI fog.
Yeah, that definitely had to be some CGI.
So other practical visual effects included the use of a spinning saw blade being held in front of a camera lens to achieve a fluttering look to the hallucinatory sequences experienced by Price in the saturation chamber. In keeping with the spirit of William Castle's tradition of releasing each of his films with the marketing gimmick, Warner Brothers and Dark Castle supplied movie theaters with a scratch-off ticket that would be given to moviegoers. The scratch-off ticket would give each patron a chance to win money, like the characters in the film. The cash prizes totaled to $1 million, including rentals from Blockbuster.
That's how they were number one.
Yeah,
that's good shit. I know the original, like, that they would like drop a skeleton from the roof of from the ceiling of the movie theater and shit.
Yeah, they used to do really awesome stuff, and I wish that they still did that. I mean, they would hang like a wire, across the theater, and they would have like a dummy or whatever, and it would fly across the room in the middle of the movie. And
yeah, skeleton was the big one for the original 1959, I believe. The original, I was like, man, that would be so fucking cool.
Yeah, if you want kind of an example of what we're talking about, they do it in the movie Popcorn, which is an awesome movie. You should watch that. And then I think one of like the newer versions we've seen is they used to do stuff like what we see in Scream 2, where they give out promotional stuff and everyone's in there having fun in their costumes and shit. They used to really do that back in the day, and we don't do that stuff anymore. Dark Castle had originally intended to release each of their films with a gimmick, much like Castle had done. They had considered releasing the remake 13 Ghosts in 3D with special glasses similar to the ones used by the characters in the film. These plans were scrapped, and House on Haunted Hill remains the only film released with a special marketing gimmick. Now that sucks.
It does.
They should have did that in 3D. That'd been cool. In 2007, the film was followed up with a direct-to-DVD sequel, Return to House on Haunted Hill, with Jeffrey Combs reprising his role as Vannacut, and was released in both rated and unrated editions. The film had no involvement from William Malone and received poor reviews, mainly due to plot holes, continuity in the building design, and various other features of the film, but it was praised for its state-of-the-art Blu-ray feature in which the viewer can change the path of the story.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. When I first read it, I was like, the Blu-ray feature, like that's who fucking cares about that?
That's not what you want to be known for.
No.
You know, it's kind of like the old R.L. Stine when he came out with the
Choose the direction of the book. Yeah.
I think it was certain Goosebumps that
It
you
was.
could do that on, but yeah.
I had the Mummy one.
Yeah, you could essentially make a character make a decision as the lead character, and it would tell you, what page to turn to continue the story.
Yeah, the bottom.
Really smart.
The bottom, it would be like, if you want to do this decision, turn to page 254. If you want to do this decision, turn to page 186. Which honestly seems like a fucking nightmare writing a book like that, but it was cool.
There's not much you could say to make me want to watch this movie again this soon. But actually, if I had the Blu-ray version, I would check that out.
Well, it's not this movie, it's the sequel.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Well, that does that. Probably
It just crashed and burned.
probably will not be paying for that.
So ratings, Rotten Tomatoes 31%. That's not a surprise. IMDb a 5.6 out of 10. Letterboxd a 2.7 out of 5. And the Google rating is 86% of users like this movie. It didn't even get a star rating from Google, so whatever.
86 is pretty good. I'm surprised Rotten Tomatoes didn't track down whoever made it and killed them.
Yeah.
What's crazy is this still got twice the score that House of a Thousand Corpses got, which just blows my mind.
It's a crime. If you would like to watch this movie, you can currently find it streaming on Tubi. You can also rent it from Amazon, Apple, YouTube, and Google Play for $4.
Rotten Tom's daughter must be Sherry Moon Zombie. Must have something serious against Rob Zombie for that.
Yeah, maybe. They should go back and re-rate it. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, we should start a petition. They would probably just re-rate it even worse.
Yeah, it's 10%. So, we start off in 1931 at the Vannacut Psychiatric Institute for the Criminally Insane, where we see that a crazed doctor is cutting a man's stomach open while he is awake, while one nurse films on an old-ass camera. We quickly discover that the prisoners have somehow escaped their cells and have begun murdering the staff. Things go off the rails pretty much immediately, and we see a crowd of prisoners burst into the operating room and attack the nurse and doctor. As the doctor gets slammed against the wall, we see him pull a lever, which initiates a hard lockdown of the whole building. We then begin to see the prisoners go wild as the screen fades to black. We then jump to 1999, where we see an old grainy footage of the massacre, where the insane patients have placed the doctor and nurse on the table and are pretty much operating on them, I guess, while they're still alive, which I'm pretty sure they don't have no medical training. So this is a bad situation.
Maybe there just wasn't an anesthesiologist near.
Maybe. We then hear an announcer begin to tell the story of the 1931 Vannacut riot and fire that pretty much ended the facility. And they basically claim here that the supervising doctor, Vannacut, went mad. And they claimed that he was basically a serial killer. That he killed more people than Ted Bundy.
Yeah. He was doing lots of killing,
I
apparently.
guess he was murdering the patients,
Yeah.
doing weird experiments, I guess. They don't really get in a lot of the detail, but they kind of paint it like he was doing some fucked up shit.
Yeah, according to Unsolved Mysteries, which is terrifying but true.
Terrifying but true, yes.
Clearly took their inspiration from, it was like Unsolved Mysteries mixed with like Ripley's Believe It or Not.
It's kind of like that, what was that show? Believe It or Not? Fact or Fiction?
I think it, so when I was doing my notes, I was trying to remember if it was the Fact or Fiction show, because there's one show that kind of does that.
There's like Believe It or Not.
Urban Legend, which kind of is a kind of the premise. It wasn't Believe It or Not, that was Ripley's. I think it may have been Fact or Fiction. Because they had another show which was different called Fact or Faked.
Yeah, no, not that one. That was way later.
But all the names are very, very similar. They're close. And then there's the show where they would show 3 stories and you would pick which one was true. That one has a similar name, and I can't remember which. I think that might have been Urban Legend. Get them all confused. But yes, I do think you're right. I think it's Fact or Faked mixed with Unsolved Mysteries.
I mean Fact or
Fiction.
Yeah.
Fact or Fiction mixed with Unsolved Mysteries.
So, since the fire, the place has been almost restored to its original beauty, but they can't finish it because apparently everyone says it is still haunted by Dr. Vannacut and his victims. The show, terrifying but true, then goes to commercial, and we see the lady who is watching it, and her name is Evelyn.
Her name is Bitch.
Evelyn. And she gets really excited because she has decided that she wants to have her birthday party at the house on Haunted Hill. We then jump to the grand opening of a new roller coaster built by Stephen Price, who is Evelyn's husband. And this guy has his fucking Vincent Price impression down. He does a phenomenal job of being Vincent Price.
He does.
I mean, and if you're not familiar with Vincent Price, he is a legend in old school horror films. He typically played villains. He worked in entertainment from, I think it was like the 1940s all the way into the 90s. He was the original house. He was in the original House of Wax, the OG Fly, the OG House on Haunted Hill. He did a lot of Edgar Allan Poe movies. I want to say they even did like a House of Usher, I think he was in. He actually did the super awesome narration for Michael Jackson's Thriller music video. That's him in the beginning. And his last film ever was Edward Scissorhands.
Yeah, this guy does a phenomenal job. He looks like him. Like you could tell from before he ever spoke that they were paying homage to the original with this character.
So originally, that was not the case, right? They gave him the name Price, but that was it. You know, the script was just a regular business guy. And the actor who actually came in, he was like, he went to like the wardrobe or whatever department and was like, let's do, let's do this look. I think I could pull this off. And he took it to the director and was like, I can basically emulate Price. And they let him do it for the movie.
It's good shit. Awesome.
Yeah. So it was all his idea. He came up with the impression. He came up with the look.
I'm glad somebody paid homage to the original.
Yeah.
It took him.
Yeah, because the original movie is actually different than this. If I remember, it was like more about the love triangle than the ghosts. Like the ghosts were very like secondary. The haunting, the ghost, they don't even kill anybody. I think it's just a love triangle thing. That's really the main part of that movie.
Yeah, the original movie was an actual like creepy haunted house and not an insane asylum.
Yeah.
Which I think they really, really missed there. because the inside of this set of this movie is incredible, but it definitely has more of a haunted house feel than it does a insane asylum feel.
Yeah. So apparently Stephen Price has promised that his new roller coaster is like nothing anyone has ever seen before. And this news crew is there interviewing him about it. So this reporter is calling him out, saying it pretty much looks basic as fuck. And he's like, okay, let's get into this elevator and go to the top so you can ride it. So her, Price, and her cameraman, who I totally forgot about. I have not seen this movie since I was probably like 13. Totally forgot about this. I just want to point out the cameraman is my boy Spike from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, played by the awesome James Masters. And what's weird is he's dressed like Spike. He has like the same clothes. He has the same hairstyle. And I'm pretty sure he talks in an English accent like him too. So they totally just was like, hey, can you do your character on Buffy for this like movie? And I just thought that was weird. But yeah, I totally forgot about that. It was like a pleasant surprise.
Are you sure the guy who plays him, that's not just how he is?
No,
To,
I'm
like, play
sure.
yourself?
No, I've seen many interviews with James Master. He's actually American, but he does the English accent in Buffy. But yeah, I mean, even down the hairstyle, like he dyes his hair like super blonde and slicks it back, and he had the same hairstyle in this movie. But I thought that was weird, and I'd totally forgotten that was in there. So those three, they get into the elevator, and at first everything seems normal until the cable snaps and the elevator drops. Now, there is like this see-through floor in this thing, so they can see the ground like coming up really fast. They are all freaking out, and then it is revealed to just be a trick by Price. It was all just part of the ride.
Right. Forgot about this and the one time I'd seen this movie, and I was so like,
Whoa.
what the fuck is going on here? Like, is this the movie I remember?
That's
Eh,
funny. That's funny you say that, because the two main things I've always remembered about this movie was this scene with the elevator and the shot of the house from outside.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I got the opposite going there. I was like, why are we at a theme park? And just the main character's about to die in an
Yeah.
elevator. Like, pretty sure he's in the movie.
So we then see the two news people get on the ride as Price stays back to watch the monitors. And at first, it's just your average crazy ass roller coaster. But then we see the tracks break. The two news people, who are having a blast at this point, quickly change to horrified when they see the cart in front of them fly off of the broken track. And they realize that they are now heading right for it. But right before they hit it, the track slides back into place, and it is revealed to be another one of Price's tricks. How in the fuck would they make a whole ass cart full of dummies fly off a track on a roller coaster?
Lazy writing.
Like, it's a cool idea,
It is,
but there's
awesome idea.
no fucking way they could figure that out. Like,
Yeah, especially not with the people who are about to ride it, not seeing it happen over and over again.
Yeah,
while
yeah,
they
yeah,
wait
that
to
too.
ride the ride.
yeah.
Yeah, but interesting. This is, I'm pretty sure, the roller coaster at Universal Studios, and I wonder how much they had to pay Universal to
It
get this.
was it the Hulk?
The Hulk,
I
yeah.
think it was the Hulk ride,
It's
yeah.
the Hulk ride, but Universal was not in any way that I know of associated with making this movie. It's just interesting. I wonder how much they had to pay them to.
I don't
If
know.
there was some favors owed or something there.
Maybe. So while this is going on, Price gets a call from Evelyn where she tells him about the party at the house on Haunted Hill, and she has already sent the guest list to his computer at his office. Now, you can tell by this conversation, these two hate each other. She's with him for his money, and he's with her because I guess she's younger and hot. We then jump to later in the day where we see Price shredding Evelyn's guest list and adding names from his address book. He then finishes up and heads to a meeting, and we see his computer on its own delete the names he added, and begin adding other names. I'm going to bring this scene up again later.
Yeah, I think I know what you're going to say. And I
Probably.
think I have a rebuttal to that, possibly.
So we then get a montage of these like black limousines driving up the long dirt road towards the house, and we see each of our main characters reading their invitation where it says, Stephen Price commands you to attend a very unique birthday celebration for Evelyn Price. Terror, humiliation, perhaps even murder will be the entertainment, with $1 million paid to those that survived the entire night inside the walls of the house on Haunted Hill. So, pretty much, these 5 people must survive the night in order to win up to $5 million, because if anybody dies, the survivors get their money as well.
It's a pretty good deal. I mean, they might
Very
sucker
good
me
deal.
in with $1 million just for staying the night.
Yeah, I mean, especially considering that you find out that you can actually win. If everyone died somehow, you'd
I
get
would-
5 million.
I would hope that nobody died, and this was
Well,
actually just like a gimmick, and
Actually,
he was gonna pay us for
if they
being
left,
there.
if they even left, like you get, you guys split their million. Whoever's left gets split their million. So
Yeah, that's more along the lines of, I would think that he set up all these crazy
yeah,
traps or something to get people to leave.
you would
You don't
think
really
that.
go into it thinking this rich guy's really going to invite a bunch of other rich people but lesser rich people to be killed.
No. So we then see the cars pull up to the gate where there is a man standing there waiting, and this is where we meet our main characters of this story. So first we have the man standing by the gate. This is the house's owner, Pritchett. I guess he inherited the house after his father died from a construction accident while remodeling the place. And you find out pretty quickly he hates this place. Then we have Sarah, who is the vice president of Larthrop International Pictures, and she is mysterious. She's got a little something going on that she's keeping a secret. Then we have Dr. Blackburn, who is your typical smart, attractive, wealthy doctor guy who I didn't trust from the jump. He gives off that he's up to something vibe. That's what I think personally. I don't know how it comes off to everybody else, but
He just kind of gave off that like kind of
smug.
snobby doctor vibe,
Yeah.
like rich doctor.
Then we have Eddie, who is a former baseball player who, after getting booted from the professional league, is definitely looking to make this $1 million. And then finally, we have Melissa, who is a former TV host who is looking to capture a ghost on her camcorder in order to help get her back on TV. So Pritchett is trying to get the gang inside of the building. He is definitely in a rush for some reason. And this is where we discover that none of these people that were invited personally know who Stephen or Evelyn Price are. So as the group walks up the driveway, we see the outside lights to the house come on, and why the fuck do they keep calling it a house?
I don't know.
This is like a fucking 20-story tall building.
Yeah, that's why I said I think they messed up on not making it a house.
Like
Like,
it
that
looks
seems
cool.
like one of those things where if you're gonna remake the movie loosely, you at least, and it's gonna be named what it's named, that you would have to have a house in its place.
Yeah, it was never a house. It's not a house now. It doesn't look like a house, and it looks way too fucking big. Like this thing's got to be 20 stories. I mean, it's huge. And what's really surprising in this whole movie, we only see 2 floors out of what, like 20 at least?
Yeah.
This thing's fucking massive.
Yeah, it's really tall. I think the inside of it looks more like a old haunted house than what you would see, you would think a psychiatric place would look like, kind of
Well,
like
I think
a
the
hospital
basement.
back in the day. This does not look like a hospital in any way to me, but it does from the outside.
Yeah.
So I think that they should have definitely made it a house.
It's weird because it doesn't resemble a
And-
house at all.
And it really sucks for this group when Pritchett stops them and is like, we got to walk the rest of the way. And then they show this so-called house Bro, they have like a mile and a half going up a mountain. Like, did you notice how far
Well,
they have to go?
because the building looks small.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like up there. Like, it's up on the mountain. Like, this isn't like a walk up the driveway. This is like, get your hiking boots out. We're about to go a mile up a mountain.
I guess building on Haunted Hill didn't come off the tongue as well.
Psychiatric unit on Haunted Hill. My first impression of the characters is Pritchett. I don't like Pritchett.
I can see that because it is played by Chris Kattan, who is very animated and kind of goofy in everything he does. And I did see that when they cast him, the director pretty much said, Chris Kattan, you just be Chris Kattan.
Well, he did a lot of SNL improv stuff, and I guess they let him do that in parts of this movie. And it's more of a guy who sucked on SNL trying to be funny in a movie. Didn't care for the character.
I agree. So once inside, we see the room is empty except for a red table with some fancy snacks and a birthday cake tombstone for Evelyn. It is very like 1930s Art Deco in here. Melissa then looks up to see this fucking creepy looking stained glass ceiling. It's like these abstract, crazy looking, insane people's faces. While Pritchett is explaining the history of the ceiling, we notice that he isn't leaving the doorway. So obviously he doesn't want to even step foot inside of this place. While the group is chatting about the place, we then see Evelyn walk into the doorway, wondering who the fuck all these people are. And right when she asks this, the giant glass ceiling comes crashing down above them. Everyone ducks for cover except Eddie, who runs towards Evelyn, tackling her onto the table as a huge shard of glass stabs into the wood next to her face.
Bro, Eddie literally just outran glass falling just to tackle Evelyn into where the glass was falling anyway.
I was going to say, what if he tackled her and the glass killed her?
Yeah.
And he just basically killed her.
I mean, that shard of glass literally is so close it cuts part of her face. Like, I don't know if you noticed that. She has a cut on her face after that. She 100% would have not been that close to that shard of glass had he not ran over there and tackled her.
Everyone else was fine with, like, ducking.
Yeah. Talk about dramatic.
Why did Eddie even save her, though? Out of all the people in this room, like, she immediately comes in, she's a bitch, and he's like, I gotta save. Yeah.
She's the hottest. That's where it's at.
Needless to say, Evelyn was not grateful as she tells Eddie to get the fuck off of her. After everyone recovers from that, we see Price appear at the top of the steps smoking a cigar. Him and Evelyn then trade blows in the form of shit-talking when Price tells her it's not him trying to kill her, it is the house. He then informs everyone that Pritchett's father and grandfather both died in this house, when Pritchett then corrects him by saying his grandfather built the place but died in Miami, and his father did pass away from an accident here. Price then announces let the games begin as he walks down the steps towards the table, but Evelyn tells him that they need to talk privately and her and Price walk upstairs. We then see that Price has one of his workers hidden somewhere in the house monitoring everyone on the video monitors. Up in the bedroom, Evelyn chews out Price over changing her guest list. He tells her that he did indeed change her list, but the people downstairs are not the people he invited. They kind of bicker about this for a moment when we then find out that Evelyn has actually tried to kill Price on many different occasions. I don't know why they have not divorced.
Yeah, I mean, you know, he already mentions like she's fucking a bunch of other people, which she doesn't deny at all. That's one thing that's a great way to get a divorce, but then you find out she has tried to kill him twice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know what's holding them together.
Yeah, I don't
Some really strong glue.
She is awful, and she obviously hates him, and I don't understand what the fuck. Like, that's another one of those writing decisions where I just don't understand it. Like, we do find out later on there's a prenup involved, and she wants him to get rid of the prenup and then get a divorce. So she has a reason to not get divorced because she's
But
not
yeah,
going to
not
get any
him.
money. But him, I don't understand why he's staying with her. She is a biatch.
So Price then heads back downstairs, and Pritchett immediately demands his payment. He is definitely trying to get the fuck out of this place. But Price kind of blows him off by explaining the rules to his new guests. We already went over the rules. There's not really anything new to add. But the party guests are pretty skeptical about the whole "you may die here tonight" speech. He also tells them that they are free to walk anytime, but we are about to see that's not quite true. Pritchett then freaks out about still not getting his check. Price finally hands it over, and as soon as Pritchett turns to walk towards the door, we hear a loud sound coming from the house. Pritchett then takes off running towards the door as we see a bunch of big gears begin to turn, and large metal doors close on all the windows and doors, essentially locking everyone inside for the night. Unfortunately for Pritchett, he doesn't make it in time and finds himself now an unwilling part of Price's game. Pritchett then begins freaking out when the group then tries to calm him down. He then informs them that he lied before about his father's construction accident and that the house is evil. It killed his father and it is going to kill all of them tonight. Eddie and Sarah then approach Pritchett about a control room for the lockdown doors. He tells them that there is a control room down in the basement, but it's like a maze and nobody wants to go down there. Sarah and Eddie then give Pritchett an ultimatum: either go down and find a way to open the doors or risk staying the night in the house. After a moment, Pritchett then agrees to head down in the basement with Sarah and Eddie. But before they leave, Evelyn says Price has some what she called party favors, and that Eddie and Sarah should grab them before they head down. When she said party favors, I thought she was talking about drugs.
I sure fucking
I
did
was like,
too.
are they going to get high before they go down there?
I thought for sure, like, especially when they turn around in the floating coffins, I thought
Yeah.
they were about to bust that shit open and they all had some weed and some
Yeah,
coke. And,
I agree.
yeah, I don't know what party favors meant them in 1999, but I'm pretty sure party favors had the same meaning then.
Well, in this movie, it's weapons.
Yeah. Got some party favors? Sure.
Yeah.
I got a Glock.
Price then walks them over to a casket, and when he opens it, we see a bunch of smaller caskets sitting there with a gun in each one. I have no fucking clue why he brought everyone a gun. What does a gun have to do with a haunted house?
Yeah, I have a theory on that I now that you mention, kind of thinking about, but I'll mention it later on because I don't want to reveal anything yet, but
So Eddie grabs one of the guns as he, Pritchett, and Sarah head down to the basement, with Price sneaking off to take a piss. Yeah, sure, that's what you're going to go do. So while down there, Pritchett cuts on the lights where we immediately see these really creepy displays. I guess that's what they would be. I'm not really sure. Statues. I don't
they
know.
look like corpses that the fucking crazy ass doctor had put up there, and for some reason nobody ever got rid of them.
One is of a man riding a horse, but both are completely missing their skin.
It's awesome looking.
Yeah. The other one is of a man who is also missing his skin, but half of his body is also missing like the muscles and tissues, and it's like the bones. And there's also this like demon baby thing. I don't know. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, I don't know what the demon baby is. I took the other corpses as like some fucked up test that this doctor was doing, and he kind of just displayed them. But I don't know what the fuck the demon baby was.
Don't know.
I don't know what kind of experiment you can do to
Make a baby grow little horns.
Yeah.
I don't know. We also see that this place still looks very much like an old mental institution down in the basement, even still having a lot of the old equipment. We then see Price go and talk to his worker who is watching all of the monitors. He then accuses him of not telling him about the lockdown doors, to which the worker tells him that it wasn't him and he has no idea how it happened. While Pritchett, Eddie, and Sarah are walking through the halls of the basement talking, Price suddenly comes around the corner, scaring the shit out of everyone. And while they talk for a moment, Sarah notices a part of the brick wall that has started to fall apart, revealing an old sealed up door. Pritchett then tells her that he has never seen that before and not to fuck with it. As they walk away, we hear something kind of growl, and then we get a close-up of the door, revealing it has blood running down it. Next, they end up in an old electroshock therapy room, which looks really creepy. I would definitely be checking that out as well. They then continue down the hallway where they end up finding the saturation chamber, which was used to treat schizophrenia. Sarah and Eddie then walk out of the room as Pritchett is explaining how it works to Price, and once out in the hallway, they realize that Pritchett and Price have now vanished. So now we somehow have the group split in half down in the creepy basement. Sarah then attempts to get the lights working in the tunnels, and once she fucks with the wiring and the lights come on, Eddie calls her out for lying about her identity. Oh, and they flirt a bunch here. While helping Sarah up to the lights, I guess Eddie cops a feel, but Sarah likes it. They flirt, they smile at each other, and she's definitely wanting some of that BBD.
Yeah, you can tell where things have changed. This would not go over as a good guy move in a movie today.
Yeah, I
Like, he
just
totally-
stuck my finger kind of up your butt.
It's like, hey, you ever heard of the shocker?
Also, when calling her out about her identity, he says, I have never met an executive that could tie their shoes, let alone rewire a whole building. She didn't rewire shit, dude. She wiggled around some fucking wires and the lights came on in a hallway. That's far from rewiring a whole building.
Yeah, I take it this guy hasn't met any executives either.
I mean, he was a baseball player. There's probably an executive for the...
of the baseball team.
Yeah, which obviously they couldn't tie their shoes, I guess.
Yeah, thought that was a really, really strange thing. And then her whole explanation gets even stranger.
So she tries to deny she's lying at first and kind of just walks away. And as she is heading down the hallway, she begins to come clean. So she isn't the real Jennifer, whatever. I don't remember the fake name. It's like Jennifer Jensen, maybe.
I just got
Not
her
sure.
as Jennifer Lady.
Yeah, Jennifer. I put her as Jennifer, whatever. But that is not her name. But she was this lady's assistant. And she stole the invitation so she could get a shot at winning the money. Because I guess she got fired. While she is explaining this, she realizes that Eddie isn't with her anymore. She then starts looking for him, thinking he is playing a joke. She then spots him at the end of the hallway, standing in a doorway.
This is a great case of some lazy writing. Why the fuck would Sarah pretend to be this Jennifer lady and go to a party and not expect the guy who invited this rich ass exec is invited by an even richer guy to a party?
Yeah.
And she's going to show up and him not know what she looks like. Like, if somebody invited somebody I worked for to a birthday party, I would assume that that person who invited them probably knows what she looks like.
I don't even really understand why they put this in there because let's just say that
Yep.
she is Jennifer whatever. What difference would it fucking make through the whole movie and the ending?
Yeah, also, she's doing this for the money, but even if she were to get the money, how the fuck is she going to cash a check in some other lady's name?
Oh, I have an answer for that. I was going to save it for the end. I'll just talk about it at the end too, but I'll say it now. All the checks are made out to cash. As literally, and I'm like, that's
Yeah,
not
you
how that
can't
works.
do that.
It's not how that works. Like,
yeah.
you can't just, instead of putting a person's name, just write cash, and then the teller's like, must be going to whoever's standing in front of me.
Yeah, I seen that at the end, and I'm like, well, their names aren't on it. Well, maybe he was saving the names to see who survived and who didn't. But even in that situation, well, cash isn't going to work. But
Who has $1
even
million
then, he would.
cash in the bank?
What is he gonna tell her? Like, oh well, Jennifer's not my real name. Sarah's my real name.
If I were to deposit a check in this whole scenario would work, and the teller's like, well, I got to give it all to you in cash, I'd be like, no, I don't want $1 million in cash like on me. Like, put it in my fucking bank account. Like, what? If I carry around $1 million in cash, somebody's gonna fucking try to steal it.
It's like, well, sir, we're gonna have to count out $1 million in ones, and then you were going to have to deposit it in a separate transaction where we're gonna have to then count it again.
Yeah, the whole identity thing, I don't see the reason that it's in there.
And it makes zero sense. It doesn't change the story at all. And whenever he makes that comment to her, and she's like, well, what does it matter anyway? She's literally like arguing with herself before she comes clean.
Yeah.
He's not saying anything. It's like she wants to come clean with this so bad.
Yeah, he really twists her arm there, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's gone. He doesn't say a fucking word.
She's like, I better tell him the truth if I have any chance of getting that BBD. So she sees him standing in the doorway, and as she runs towards him, she walks into a room, but when she arrives, he's not there anymore. So, obviously, this is not the real Eddie. I think everyone but Sarah realizes this. But this evil Eddie is definitely leading her somewhere. So he ends up leading her to the motherfucking morgue. Come on, Sarah. Did you fall out of the stupid tree and hit every branch on the way down?
Well, she's definitely not an executive.
No. But she can rewire a whole house.
Yeah, by just shaking the wire.
By just sticking her hand in there and wiggling the wires. So once she walks into this morgue, she looks over to her right and sees Eddie standing behind this huge tank of liquid. And as she shines the flashlight on him, he climbs up on the ledge of the tank and jumps in, completely disappearing into the dark liquid. Sarah runs over to save him and ends up putting her whole ass arms into this unknown tank of shit. And she tries to save him, but just can't pull him up. She's freaking out when suddenly we hear Eddie's voice call out, "What the hell are you doing?"
Did Sarah just assume that Eddie couldn't swim?
I don't know.
That's racist.
I don't know if she's racist. She seems like she wants to fuck him real bad. So Sarah looks up at him confused, and he is obviously very confused as well. She then looks down at the liquid, which we now see is a big ass tank of blood, and she suddenly gets pulled in by whatever the fuck is down there. She struggles to not get pulled into the tank as Eddie rushes up to save her, and right before he makes it to the top of the steps, Sarah breaks free and falls back into the wall crying. We then jump back up to the lobby where we see Evelyn and Blackburn just kind of hanging out when a very pissed off Eddie and Sarah arrive. A moment later, we also see Price and Pritchett come up from the basement to join the others, where Price informs them that they could not locate the master control room and they don't think it even exists. Considering this building is like fucking 20 stories tall, I'm sure there is a control room somewhere in here. You searched one fucking floor.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, they're just hanging out at a bar, right?
They're in the lobby.
What the fuck is a bar doing in the middle of a psychiatric
In
ward?
1930s, man, everyone was getting fucking fucked up at work. Doctors were recommending
schizophrenic people get fucked up at the bar.
Doctors were recommending cigarettes to people.
Yeah.
And your fucking surgeons are getting drunk during day and doctors are smoking cigarettes while they're treating you for lung cancer.
I feel like everything like outside of the basement just feels like a
hotel.
Like a haunted mansion or a big older haunted hotel.
Yeah. So Eddie starts going off about the tank of blood when Pritchett interrupts, informing them that it was just a ghost fucking with them and is nothing compared to what will happen if the evil gets loose. And I think it's safe to say that is probably what is behind the bloody metal door we seen earlier. Price then mentions that they should all just stick together when Evelyn points out that Melissa is missing. We then jump to Melissa walking down into the basement with her camcorder. I don't even think these exist anymore. I don't even think they make camcorders anymore. Now that we could just record shit on our phones. It was weird seeing, because this was like amazing technology back in 1999.
Yeah, we get a camcorder. We got some Blockbuster tapes. We got some Marilyn Manson Sweet Dreams. This is fucking peak late 90s.
Yeah, so she films those creepy no skin having display things we seen earlier. And once she gets a little further in, she hears a loud noise accompanied by a large gust of wind. This freaks her out pretty good, but she quickly gets herself together and goes back to recording. She then finds a very crude looking operating room where, to the human eye, looks pretty abandoned and empty. But on her camera screen, we can see the two nurses and Dr. Vanicut doing some fucked up surgery on a patient who is screaming in pain.
I thought that was really cool.
I really like this, yeah. This confuses the shit out of Melissa as she walks further into the room while continuously checking the camera screen. But as she gets too close, we hear a shriek as the crazy ass doctor and two nurses all slowly look up at her. This is a good creepy scene.
It is a good creepy scene. I could say if I seen this through my camcorder, I would not be walking in there.
Nope, right on out of there. She then turns to look behind her and sees a bony ass weirdo standing in the hallway with a fucking gas mask on, just watching her. It then rushes at her super fast, and we see this very up close shot of this scary ass demon creature screaming in her face. We then get all of these quick flashes of weird shit like scary naked people spooning, a statue of a demon head, a close-up of a mouth with blood running from it, and many more. She then lets out a loud-ass scream where we see the rest of the group in the lobby hear it and come running to help. Except for Evelyn and Pritchett, of course, with Pritchett even going as far as to announce that she's dead. Down in the basement, Sarah and Eddie find Melissa's camera next to a large puddle of blood. Eddie, Price, and Blackburn follow a trail of blood that just leads to the middle of the room, which confuses them as to where she could have went. When Sarah then looks up and finds another trail of blood on the ceiling, which abruptly stops at the wall. So, the fucking house ate her, I guess.
Apparently.
The wall ate her.
I love how they asked Sarah, is she all right? And she's like, I don't know. Like, you literally found her camcorder next to a gallon of fucking fresh blood on the floor.
I would say she's not okay.
Yeah, there's no scenario in which she is okay.
Nope. So back in the lobby, Sarah gets the camera to work again, and this is able to play back Melissa's last moments. It doesn't really show much. It's just like her dropping the camera and her bloody hand like suddenly gets pulled away as she screams. Nothing we haven't already seen. Evelyn then basically calls out Price about this all being some elaborate trick he is pulling, which, I don't really blame her. I would probably think the same thing considering his profession.
I don't blame him either
for
thinking it's her, because he knows it's not him, and he knows she's fucking psycho who's tried to kill him multiple times.
But once she kind of blames him, calls him out for this, he's like, I have no idea. She then accuses him of planning to kill her, which she then pulls out one of those guns from earlier. He kind of chuckles at this, saying none of the guns are really loaded. When she suddenly fires it at the bar behind him, and it's definitely really loaded. Evelyn then announces to the group that she is going up to the bedroom for the night, and if anyone comes to her door, she will shoot them to death. She then walks off, and Price tells everyone that he loaded all the guns with blanks. Eddie then throws a whole ass loaded gun across the room to Sarah, telling her to take the gun. Who the fuck throws a fucking gun at somebody?
Yeah, especially after you just found out that there's live rounds in there. You can't take the mag out. And, in those scenarios, is it okay to just toss a whole handgun across the fucking room?
That's a
room
terrible.
of people.
You don't know if Sarah's good at catching shit or she knows about guns. Like, you have no fucking clue.
Yeah, that I also noted that was really fucking stupid.
Yeah, it's just. I mean, he throws it like fucking 15 feet too. It's not even
Well,
like 5 feet.
another thing is they all had a box with a gun
They
in
all
it.
could have got
So
a gun.
why do they not just go, okay, this shit's serious. Let's go get the rest of the guns.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's you know what it is, man. He's trying to play those moves.
Yeah,
It's
he's
like
focused on.
she thinks I'm sacrificing my gun for her, but really I'm about to just go over and get this other gun.
Yeah, he's probably already got the other gun. So the group decides to be fucking idiots and split up. Sarah and Eddie once again go looking for a way out. Blackburn goes off by himself to look for Melissa, even though we just established that she's definitely dead, bro. Like, what? What, you just gonna go look for her body? That's just, it's stupid. And I wouldn't go by myself either. He's dumb.
He's a doctor. He's gonna fix it.
He could fix himself if someone.
I'm going to
hurts him.
mop up this blood and bring her back.
And Pritchett says that he is going to look for more alcohol. We then see Price run up to his sidekick worker guy who has been monitoring the house, and as he rushes into the room, we find out two things. One, he fully believes that Evelyn is somehow pulling all of this off. And two, the worker has had his whole ass face bitten off by what had to be like a fucking dinosaur or a shark, something with big teeth and a big ass mouth. His fucking whole face and everything behind it is like gone. His
Good.
head has been hollowed out like a jack-o'-lantern. All we really see that's left is like his jawbone and a few teeth.
Yeah,
It looks good though.
It happens when a evil house bites you. I will say that I'm really glad we got this in there because we do miss a lot of opportunities to see people die in this movie.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that they did, as far as like props and effects go, they were able to fill the movie out a little bit.
Yeah, one thing I did notice on the second watch is, we're almost halfway through the movie when people start dying.
Yeah, it's a very, very slow burn.
Mm-hmm.
Like the start of it, I mean, I will say it's probably when we're about to get to a kind of a plot twist coming up. And it wasn't until that where it fully grabbed me back in. Like I was having a little bit of a hard time.
Okay, yeah, I can see that. Price then sees on the monitors the ghost of Dr. Vannicut walking through the house, and Evelyn is asleep in her room. I actually really think it was kind of creepy, the doctor walking on the monitor. I like that. That was good. I assume you probably didn't like it because he does like this fast.
Yeah, I don't
Fast, like,
care for
moving
the
thing.
like CGI fucking movement.
I liked that though because I think back then that wasn't
Yeah.
very common.
No, I'll agree with that. It wasn't like they do it in every ghost movie or possession movie now. We've talked about this on
Yeah.
the show. It was a little more fresh then.
Yeah. We then get this little montage of everyone kind of doing their own thing. We see Eddie and Sarah trying to pry one of the windows open, Dr. Blackburn walking through the basement with a flashlight, Pritchett frantically looking for a bottle of alcohol, and Price is running around looking for the Dr. Ghost. Oh, and we also see that Evelyn is missing from her room now. Suddenly, though, everyone is interrupted by all the lights in the house flashing. We then see everyone run off from what they were doing, searching for what's fucking with the lights. I'm sure Eddie's like, well, Sarah will fix the lights. She rewired this place.
God damn it, Sarah, you must have fucked something up.
Yeah. So they all end up meeting in the basement and heading to the electroshock therapy room that we saw earlier. And when they arrive, they find Evelyn strapped to the table, getting severely electrocuted. After flipping every switch and every button, they finally turn the thing off where Blackburn pronounces her dead. Price says, "She's not dead. We just got to get her heart pumping again." Bro, that's dead. I think that's the literal definition of dead.
Yeah, I will say, what an awful doctor, though. Like, he immediately says it's too late. Like, he doesn't even try to revive her.
It's like, I can tell. She's dead. She's done.
Like, I would have been like, what
CPR?
the fuck? You're not even going to try? Like, how can you say it's too late? Like, normally the doctor says it's too late after trying to revive somebody for a while. This would have been a big red flag to me as of why this fucking doctor does not want to even attempt at reviving.
Yeah, I mean, I want to say when I first watched it, I didn't pick up on it, but I was 12. So,
Yeah, I picked up on immediately. I'm like, how the fuck can you say that? It literally, you just got the machine turned off. He's like, I specialize in electrocutions. There's no way she's 12.4 seconds past the being able to bring her back.
But yeah, Evelyn is dead, and Price is actually pretty upset by this. He then freaks out and says that the house didn't do this, and it definitely wasn't ghosts. Somebody murdered his wife. I would be like, dude, if anybody killed her, it would have been you. We just met the bitch like 2 hours ago, and you invited us here.
Yeah. Yeah, I would have pointed the finger.
I totally would have been like, honestly, everyone else thinks it's you.
I'd have been like, you know what? When a spouse dies, normally the other spouse is the first to get looked at, and none of us have a reason to kill her.
She literally shot a gun at you like 40 minutes ago. Since the moment she's walked in the door, you guys have literally traded blows about killing each other and how much you hate each other. And now she's dead. Like, I think it was you, honestly. I mean, come on.
On the other hand, this guy's got so much money. Like, why wouldn't he just, like, this dude's like filthy, filthy rich. Why don't you just pay somebody to kill her?
Yeah. So Price then pulls a gun on everybody, which prompts Sarah to pull her gun. So her and Price are now having a Mexican standoff, and right before things pop off, Eddie throws a gun across the room, hitting Price with it. Thank God he's got those gun throwing skills down. No, he goes after Price right as Price begins firing the gun. They fight for a minute until Eddie fucks him up, taking the gun from him and temporarily knocking him out. With Price now disarmed and beaten, they decide to lock him in the, what's the thing called? The sensory chamber thing?
Yeah, I don't remember what it was called. I thought their explanation for it was supposed to help people with schizophrenia. Like, you show them a bunch of crazy shit and crazy sounds. Like, that's fucked up.
Well, it was like, if it would drive a sane man crazy, then it would maybe drive a crazy man sane.
Yeah, that was the explanation. In reality, what this thing is, and I don't know what the toys are called. They used to have them back in the day. If you watch The Conjuring 2, it's with with the Crooked Man. It's when he comes out. It's one of the toys that spins, and it shows a picture every time it spins.
Oh, yeah.
And it kind of makes it, once it gets
Looks
to
like
a
it's moving.
certain speed, yeah, it looks like it's moving. It is a giant one of those. And I thought that'd be really cool. I wonder if anybody's ever built a giant version of that.
Well, apparently this thing exists because the Nazis built it I think they built it to torture people, make people go insane.
Huh. I'd like to try that out. Just
okay. If anyone's got one, Jordan would like to try it out.
Well, I don't see how this would. I mean, I get, like, if you're in, like, a prisoner of war and you've been beaten and you haven't eaten in fucking, like, 3 weeks and you're already going crazy and they put you in this thing and you're seeing things, yeah, it might make you go crazy. But
well,
knowing what it is going into it, I feel like it wouldn't really make you that crazy.
that is funny because I was like, this thing would fucking drive me nuts. Like, I would totally go crazy in this thing because do you remember a couple years ago when me and you went to all those haunted houses together and I complained about the flashing lights fucking with me so bad? I think it was just getting older, man, and I can't handle the flashing lights anymore. Like,
Don't like the strobes.
the strobes, they fuck with me hard. Like, remember I got kind of stuck in there and you came back and got me in one of them because I got lost.
You got an old man lost in the haunted house.
It fucks me up now, man. I just can't, my eyes
Turn
can't
the
take it.
goddamn lights on.
Yeah. So Sarah and Eddie head back upstairs while Blackburn agrees to watch Price and make sure he doesn't get out of this thing. And what does that motherfucker do as soon as everyone leaves? He cuts the machine on, allowing it to drive Price insane. That is a dick move.
This is a dick move, and this, I couldn't remember anything really plot-wise of this movie. I was like, kind of looks like Dr. Blackburn might be
A piece of shit.
kind of behind some of this stuff. The way he gives him that look before he walks off.
Oh, is this better? It's like, no, it's way worse.
And that he like wanted everybody else to leave and him stay there with him and watch over him. And then he cuts this machine on like full blast and leaves him there. Like, yeah.
There ain't no fucking way in hell I would volunteer to stay down there by myself.
Well,
Nope.
You would if you
We're in on
were
it.
in on it.
So once turning the machine on high in order to drive Price mad, he then just walks off. We then see that inside this machine is a bunch of flickering lights, some annoying whistling and clicking sounds, and a moving picture of a man in a tuxedo. We then see that Price has pretty much went crazy in there because he is now imagining that he is strapped to a gurney being wheeled into a room by a fucking zombie nurse. We also got some naked crazy lady hanging from the ceiling. 2 other naked women squatted in the corner, a head in a glass box who has had his eyes removed, and these dudes with all of these white faces that have frowns and solid black eyes.
But this is my favorite scene of the movie.
Literally was about to say that same thing.
Yeah,
This is this whole chunk of the movie right here with him going crazy, best part of the movie.
The imagery in this
That was my next thing.
is fucking incredible. I mean, they do this very washed out black and white grays, but then they use the blood as bright red, and it just the cinematography and the way that was shot and the imagery. I felt like this is what the whole movie should have been.
Yeah, this scene, everything in this scene is fucking scary.
Creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's creepy as fuck. Very unsettling.
We then see Price get a plastic bag pulled very tight around his face as the assistants start wrapping metal wire around his head. They then throw him into a tank of water and lock him in. While swimming around in there, he finds a naked body of a woman who, when she looks at him, blood just starts pouring out of her mouth. There is another lady who swims over to him, and when she reveals her face, it's pretty much just all mouth. She has this huge mouth with no nose or eyes, and she just kind of screams really loud in his face. There's all kinds of weird, scary shit in this part. It's I can't even describe it all. You gotta see it.
Yeah, it's very a psychological, almost psychedelic horror with amazing imagery. Definitely what I wish this movie outside of this him going crazy would have been more like this.
This stuff really gives me American Horror Story Asylum vibes.
Yep. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. So while all this is going on, we see Sarah and Eddie find Dr. Vannicutt's office where they decide to do a little investigating. And while in there, they find a picture with him and his staff's photos and names. And while looking at this, Sarah figures out that every person who was invited tonight was a direct descendant of the staff members who didn't die that day in the massacre/fire. And then we get to one of my favorite parts of the movie, where they figure out how the house made the guest list. So remember I said I was going to talk about this? So it apparently traveled through the phone line into Price's computer. Because remember, back in the day, the internet used to be dial-up. So this house from I don't know, it was built in probably 1920, figured out how to use the internet better than most humans at the time. Wow.
That it did.
Wow. We really took a fucking turn
So there's
that.
There's a giant plot hole with that that we're about to get to in a second. Outside of a ghost traveling through the internet.
Yeah, I may be on the same page. So while they are discussing in early 1900s Hal's learning how to use the internet in order to murder people, Eddie takes a look at the staff photo again and discovers that Blackburn's name isn't on there. Well, how about that? So we then jump to Evelyn's dead body, which is still in the electroshock therapy room, where we see Blackburn engage in some light necrophilia. At first, I was like, you've got to be fucking kidding me. Like, this guy's gonna fuck a dead woman.
Bro, this scene was super unsettling.
It was weird.
I definitely didn't enjoy it at all. It was one of those scenes that I enjoyed in the sense of a movie because it made me feel so fucking gross.
Yeah.
And just such a unsettling, which just a movie's doing its job if it's making you feel that way. But yeah, and this was surprising.
Yeah, honestly, like when that first happened, I was like, maybe he's like a serial killer or something, because I knew there was something about him. I hadn't really nailed down exactly, what had happened, or what ends up happening. But when I seen this, I was like, obviously he's into like, I don't know, maybe killing women and like fucking around with them afterwards or something.
Well, he makes the comment how, what's the word? I can't think of the word. He makes the comment pretty much saying how she's not fighting him now. Like, now that she's
Gross.
like knocked out. Yeah.
Gross.
And it made me think at first that he was like, he knew her outside of here or knew of her and was like just like an obsessed fan of her or something.
I didn't catch that. But we then see Blackburn pull out some vials and a needle, giving Evelyn a shot, which instantly brings her back to life. Her and Blackburn immediately kiss, and this is where it is revealed that her and Blackburn are lovers and had come up with this plan to fake her death in order to fuck with Price, allowing Blackburn to kill him and Evelyn to inherit all his wealth. So pretty much, her and her lover kill her rich husband for this money. Sounds very Tales from the Crypt. One thing I don't get is if the house made the guest list, how the fuck did Blackburn get an invitation?
Yep, that was where I was going with that. So by the end of the movie, I had just assumed that Evelyn did hack into his computer, obviously for Blackburn to be there. But then that wouldn't make sense of how she knew everybody was descendants. So I'm wondering if she hacked into this computer and added his name. But one or the other had to have happened. Like either she had to made the list for Blackburn to be there, or the ghost had to make the list for all these descendants to be there. So huge plot hole there.
I think that I think if we're gonna just say it's not a plot hole, I think the best scenario is that Blackburn didn't have an invitation. Like she told him, because they planned this out, she told him just to be there.
Well, somebody would have had to been deleted then. Somebody's name, because there was 5 sent out.
Yeah, good point.
So
I don't know. It's a plot hole. It's just
I think
writing.
The best way to explain it as not a plot hole would be that the ghost came in and went through the internet and put these names in there, and then Evelyn did hack into his computer and change one of the names and put Blackburn's name in there.
I don't know. Maybe
they murdered the 5th person.
Maybe
they just took their place.
Maybe the house was like, well, fuck them too. I'll kill them too. Like, bring him on too. Like, I don't know. I don't know. So she asks about Price, to which Blackburn tells her that he isn't dead yet, but it won't be long, assuming one of the other guests will eventually shoot him. I assume they are going to let him out now that he's all crazy and shit, and are banking on like Eddie or Sarah killing him. The plan is kind of shaky at best, though. Eddie may throw a gun at him and kill him.
Yeah, we also didn't address it. I just remembered it. He gives her a shot, and she wakes up. She is like electrocuted to what we think it's to death, but obviously she's knocked out. She's unconscious. And he gives her a shot of something in her leg, and she wakes up.
It's magic serum.
Does he have anti electrician,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
anti-venom, but
Yeah.
anti-electric. Like, all I gotta do is give her a little bit of this antidote, and she will no longer be affected by electricity that already killed her.
It was developed by Dark Castle Pharmaceuticals. It's just a magic serum.
Good stuff.
She then asked about Melissa, which Blackburn never found. This leads into an argument between the two, where Evelyn decides that in order to frame Price for murder, she must get another dead body. And before Blackburn can put two and two together, she stabs him to death with a scalpel. And I say, good riddance, Doc.
Yeah, I mean, I'll. This is such a Dark Castle movie with these fucking plot holes and these awful characters and these things that don't make sense. But I will say that they did surprise me with both of those plot twists. With the doctor, I kind of seen that the doctor was in on this when he locked him into that chamber. But I did not see, like, when he started making out with her body, I thought he was, like, obsessed with her and about to do something to her dead body, some gross shit. So that plot twist of her waking up and them being in on it together really threw me. Didn't see it coming. And then her killing him right after. Didn't see that coming either. So props to them for that.
Yeah.
At least.
I remember when I seen it when I was a kid, I didn't know I don't remember what the twist was, but I remember it being like a holy shit moment. Like, oh, I didn't see that coming. We then see Evelyn unlock and open the door to release Price, and as the door swings open, an unconscious Stephen Price falls out onto the floor. We then jump to Pritchett, Eddie, and Sarah, who are now back down in the basement. I think this is like the 5th time they have been down there now. Anyway, they are down there again, looking for a missing member of the group again, this time trying to find Blackburn, who Pritchett has already deemed dead meat.
You know, you would think in a real life situation with all this going on, the core of the people not in on it would not split up under any circumstance.
Or keep going to the basement, because the fucking basement is where everyone keeps getting killed. Stay out of the fucking basement.
Yeah, when they after they beat Price up and they leave him with Dr. Blackburn, I would have been like, no, we're not going to split up. Like, no, we obviously, like, there's somebody is actually dead now. Another one is presumed dead and missing. No more splitting up.
It's like Clue.
It's
somebody here is killing people, and every time we go off by ourselves, somebody ends up fucking dead. So we're all just going to sit here in this fucking room until the sun comes up, period.
At least in that scenario, when the next person dies, we'll at least know what's going on. And we won't be all split up looking for him.
Price even says this in the beginning when things like weird shit happen. I think it was like Melissa disappears. He's like, well, we should all stick together. And literally like 30 minutes later, they're all going to split up and go do their own thing. And it's like, okay, whatever. So while down there, they discover a room with a huge puddle of blood and a very bloody bone saw. They then check the crazy chamber thing to see if Price is still locked up. And when they look inside the little observation window, they see Blackburn's face pressed up against the door. They rush to open it to free him, but when the door swings open, we see Blackburn's severed head propped up on the door as his now headless corpse falls at their feet. If I were Pritchett, I would scream the biggest "I told you so" right in their fucking faces.
Yeah.
Because he was like, let's not go down the basement. He's already dead. Let's not waste our time going back down there. And damn if he was right.
Yeah, Evelyn, man, she has given me some serious, like, a classy Courtney Love vibes. Like, she will kill anybody for success and money.
This is true. She's not as strung out, but same motives.
Yeah, like, her plan actually is working perfect at this point. Like, at this point in the movie, her plan has come together. But how did Dr. Blackburn not see that he had to die if he was left alone with Mr. Price? That
he's blinded by love.
Yeah, in order for the plan to come together, she had to kill him and put his body in there. So they thought that Mr. Price killed Dr. Blackburn, and he was obviously the murderer.
Yeah, he's just
not a very good doctor.
Well, Evelyn's plan here works because Sarah immediately pulls out her gun, yelling for Price, calling him a murderer. For some reason, Sarah's all fired up over Blackburn's murder. I don't really know why she's so like amped, because she didn't even know Blackburn.
She's like, he was a doctor. We needed him.
Yeah, she's like angry, like she knew him for years. If I were them, fuck looking for him down there. I would be like, let's go back upstairs. As far as they know, all the killing and fucked up shit happens in the basement. So I would be like, let's not look. Obviously, he probably wants us to look for him down here because it's easier for us to get turned around. It's easy. He's already down here. He's got his spot. I would be like, well, he probably will probably fuck up his plan if we just go hide up or go to the lobby. Like, Price isn't going to be able to kill us if we're not down here.
Bro, I would have never found Dr. Blackburn's body because I wouldn't have been back in.
Nope.
I'd have been like, so everybody who's died and went missing, it has happened underground. I'm going to stay here in the lobby where nobody's died. Except somebody almost died from the glass. But other than that, no more glass to break. I'm taking my chances and staying here. Or just finding a room as a group and sitting in corners of a room and not fucking moving.
So for some reason, Sarah takes off on her own in pursuit of Price. She walks into this big room where she thinks she hears Melissa moaning in pain. She then follows the cries for help, and as she gets real close, Price suddenly comes around the corner, confused with his hands and shirt covered in blood. She quickly steps back, pointing her gun at him. He tells her he doesn't know what happened and to please help him. She's like, fuck that, I'm gonna shoot you. Price then keeps stumbling towards her, begging for help. She then says, I wouldn't help you for $1 million. I would have followed that up with, but for $100 million, I'll get you out of here, and we'll blame these murders on these other two losers.
Why does he keep coming at her though? Like,
because he's fucking went mad from the fucking the machine, the crazy machine.
But when they run into each other, you can tell he instantly knows what this looks like because he instantly says what happens to Dr. Blackburn. So he knows that he looks guilty here, and he's trying to convince her that it's not him. But I would be sitting my ass on the floor.
Yeah.
Like I had nothing to do with it. I'm not moving. I'm not going to touch you. I'm not going to hurt you. He's straight up like, he's doing what you would think a guy who was in on it would do. It's like coming at her, reaching for a gun, like coming at her. No, I would have shot him too.
But money can't buy our self-righteous girl Sarah, as she then shoots Price in the chest multiple times until he falls to the ground dead. Pritchett and Eddie then come running after the shots. Sarah is freaked out. Eddie consoles her while taking her back upstairs. Eddie is totally laying the foundation for trauma bonding sex when he and Sarah get out of here. After those three head back to the lobby, we then see Evelyn walk up to Price's dead body, which, by the way, Evelyn has been walking around this nasty ass, wet, dirty floor with no fucking shoes on for half the movie, and that's gross.
I put that in my notes too, and I wasn't going to mention it, but yes.
It grosses me out when like they show her walking in it, like the floor is like, ugh.
Yeah, you got
live your life better than
years of dirt and soot and blood.
Probably blood.
Yeah, you're walking around barefooted. Why? Why not just put the shoes back on?
Yeah, I mean, if I was that desperate, I'd have just stole Blackburn's shoes. He doesn't need them. Anyway, she leans down to face with Price's body in order to talk some shit. But surprise, bitch, Price isn't dead. He suddenly pounces like a cobra, grabbing her neck, pulling her in close as her eyes widen in shock. And yes, I just realized that cobras don't pounce. I guess a cobra would strike.
Yeah.
So he strikes like a cobra, grabbing her neck. That sounds better.
Yeah, that does sound better.
Yeah. Price then slams her into a wall as he rips his shirt open to reveal he is wearing a Titanic life vest.
Thug life. It looks like Tupac busting that shit open.
I feel like those old 90s bulletproof vests, they look like the Titanic vest.
The life vest.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. If he loaded all the guns with blanks, then how did he know to wear a bulletproof vest?
I don't think he actually loaded the guns with blanks.
Well, what if he's like 50 Cent? He just like wears it all the time. Like
Hey, if I had Evelyn as a wife, I'd wear a fucking bulletproof vest around all the time too.
he just like gets up in the morning to piss and he's just got his like tighty whities and his bulletproof vest on. He's at the office like fucking his secretary, butt ass naked except for his bulletproof vest.
Yeah, I love this part. I'm like, I was so behind him on him just beating this bitch to death right here. Like, just don't even use a weapon. Just because the way she's talking shit, she's like, I can't, from the moment I seen you, I loved your money.
Yeah.
But I couldn't stand the thought of even looking at you. Like, knowing what she's planned and then her saying that, man, these ghosts coming out the wall, I wouldn't even have fucking noticed. I'd have been too busy beating her ass.
He then tells her that he knew about the plan all along because he was spying on her in Blackburn the whole time. She then asks what he is going to do, and he basically tells her, I'm gonna fucking kill you. He then grabs her and throws her bitch ass right through that old bloody door, breaking it into pieces, where we then see a black shadow mist thing head right for her. As she gets up, we then see the mist thing morph into like this thick black cloud, where we begin to hear creepy laughing and horrified screams coming from it. Evelyn then tries to run towards Price, but the black cloud grabs her, pulling her into the wall and basically absorbs her.
I wish she would have got the Price and he would have shoved her ass back in there.
Yeah,
would have ate her.
Yeah, that would have been better.
I'd have been talking shit to her the entire time. Like, I'll deal with the demons later.
So Price, who is now fucked up from seeing this, slowly backs away when he suddenly bumps into a metal cabinet behind him. And when he turns around, he sees Melissa's body perfectly cut into different pieces and neatly hung up in this thing. This is honestly pretty wild. I had to pause it here because it's like really quick. But we see the left side of her chest and her whole entire abdomen has been cut open and completely hollowed out. And next to it is her heart, liver, stomach, and whole entire respiratory system has been removed. And then to top it off, her severed head.
Yeah, I thought this was awesome.
Yeah,
I fucking love that they put this in there. Clearly, this house, it's haunted by these patients and this doctor that was doing all this fucking surgery on people and all these fucked up experiments. So obviously, when the house snatched her through the ceiling, she went somewhere and these ghosts have been cutting her up. I thought this was really cool. Glad that they added this in here. I will say, though, her head looked way too alive. Like, it is very clear she's sticking her head right through a hole in that wall.
The evil black mist then slowly comes creeping out of the room towards Price. Price just kind of stands there for a moment in shock. We then see this like demon face that's in the middle slowly transform into Evelyn's face as she begins to say some creepy ass shit. It then goes back to attack Price, and we quickly cut to Eddie, Sarah, and Pritchett, who are upstairs trying to pry the metal door open with a pipe. They are soon interrupted by Price banging on the basement door, yelling for help, which confuses them at first because remember, Sarah shot Price in the basement. We then see the evil cloud come racing up the steps towards Price, and right before it gets to him, he kind of like falls to the side into this like window thing. And the evil black cloud bursts through the door where Pritchett now stands face to face with it. It immediately snatches his ass up, pulling him into the cloud as it screams, and as he screams, we see him just pretty much disappear. While it absorbs or eats Pritchett, I guess, whatever it does, it just retreats back down into the basement, allowing Price to run into the hallway, slamming the basement door behind him. I was like wondering why it went back down. And then I was like, I wonder if it's like Frank from Hellraiser. Remember he's like bloody and Julia gets him like that first dead body and he makes her leave the room because he like doesn't want her to watch him eat it. And I'm like, is the black cloud like that? Like it grabbed Pritchett and it was like, I'm gonna go down here and eat it real quick and then I'm gonna come back.
I can't let them see the
I
behind the
can't,
scenes.
yeah. Like it doesn't really make sense of why it retreats.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't think about that. All I thought about was, thank God. I know it's the end of the movie, but finally Pritchett's fucking dead.
So anyway, Price takes off running, telling the others to run as well, but they just kind of stand there in shock at first until they see the basement door like stretch and then burst open. The end of the hallway then turns into a giant evil mouth, and Price tells the others there must be some pulleys in the attic that control the doors. He then takes off again while Eddie and Sarah just stand there watching the evil black cloud take over the walls and the floor. Then suddenly we just see the floor explode, which finally causes Eddie and Sarah to run. Price then makes it to the attic where he finds a room full of gears, levers, and pulleys, which after flipping a switch activates the system and starts raising the metal panels. Price then yells down to the others he found a way out and to come up to the attic. So once they finally make it up there, at first all they see is one window halfway open, but no Price. As Eddie checks out the window to see if they can get out, we see the black cloud begin to seep through the floorboards, working its way up to the rope which controls the mechanism. It then wraps around the rope, cutting it, causing the system to like reverse and the doors to start closing again. Just then, Price comes around the corner, sacrificing himself to push Sarah out of the way as the black cloud swallows him up. What the fuck was Sarah doing where she didn't see this very slow moving black cloud about to get her? What was she looking at?
I don't know. This whole thing is confusing because you would think Sarah had just shot Price like 10 times and there's all this shit's going on. People are dying. You would think that they wouldn't have like, had he yelled back down to me, hey, I found a way out, but you got to hurry up. It's kind of time sensitive. I would be like, this guy's going to kill us. But the fact that Price sacrifices himself to save Sarah makes no sense. Everything we know about his character and that Sarah just like shot him, like, I don't know what, 10 times?
At least 10 times.
I just didn't understand the Price sacrificing himself for Sarah.
I don't understand. I think one of the biggest problems with this end is why didn't they all three just go out the fucking window? Like, why did he have to go like, I'll look at it. It's a fucking big ass hole. Just crawl through it. What is there to examine?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I felt like they needed Sarah to, she had to live, Price had to die. They had to, weak writing. They had to come up with some stupid reason why they didn't just crawl out the window, and then they had to have Price sacrifice himself for Sarah, which makes no, and you got this like super mega rich billionaire who's gonna sacrifice himself to save this nobody who's not even actually the person he invited there, who just shot him like 10 times.
But we then see it turn Price to ash and pretty much blow him away into a million pieces. Eddie then helps Sarah get through the window before it closes, but unfortunately, it is too late for Eddie. The evil black cloud then laughs at Eddie right before all of these like ghost faces start talking to him. We then see the ghost of Dr. Vanica appear in the cloud and tell him it is time to take his rightful place. Because remember, it's trying to trap the relatives of the 5 staff members who got away in 1931. And this is where Eddie reveals to the ghost that he isn't really related to any of the survivors. Because, are you ready for this? He is adopted. Boom, roasted.
And I was like, you've got to be fucking kidding me. This ghost can travel to the fucking internet and set this whole thing up and all this, and it didn't pick up that he was adopted. He's not even the same color.
The black cloud's like, fuck, really? Like, are you being serious or are you just saying that to get out of dying? Like, don't lie. Remember, I can check the internet. Well, unfortunately, we don't really find out what the evil black cloud thinks about this, because before it gets a chance to respond, the ghost of Pritchett appears and pulls the rope that opens the metal door, allowing Eddie to escape out onto the ledge with Sarah. Sarah and Eddie now sit on this ledge of the house, which sits on a very tall cliff of a mountain as the sun shines brightly in the distance. Sarah then looks back towards the door where she sees an envelope hanging out. She then pulls it free, and we see that it says, "For those who survived the night." Eddie then opens it, revealing 5 checks for $1 million. And these checks are way too large to be real checks. And
The
like I said
rich guy
before,
checks.
they're just made out to cash. So I
Yeah.
don't think a bank will cash that.
Don't you know when you get rich enough, your checks get bigger?
Also, I mean, Price would now be considered missing or dead.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to look like real suspect that they're trying to cash these $5 million checks.
Yeah, I don't think these checks are going through, even if
No.
they didn't say cash on them. I don't recall them ever, like, I know they were going up, but they didn't go up 20 stories. Like, they're like 20 stories
Yeah, I
at the
know.
top of this place.
I know it doesn't make sense.
And also, the whole Eddie and the CGI back and forth climax just didn't age very well. He's
No.
literally arguing with the CGI black puff of smoke. It's literally at one point, it is just him and a black puff of smoke is the only thing on screen.
Yeah.
And they are arguing back and forth at each other. I was like, man, this is... this did not age well.
Well, we then go into the credits, but wait, there is another scene.
But wait, there's more.
So we cut back to the grainy 1930s film footage we saw at the beginning of the movie, and we see the crazy prisoners once again going wild in the building. We then see Evelyn, who is now dressed as a nurse, being held down on a gurney while she is cut repeatedly with a scalpel. And then we see Price laying next to her, fully awake, as another crazed person does surgery on his abdomen. One guy is even just like playing with his intestines. These two look completely miserable as the camera zooms into their faces, and we get the end on the screen as it fades to black. And that, my friends, is the end of House on Haunted Hill.
That was a fucking awesome post-credit scene.
Yeah, I agree.
Mean, super awesome. I wish they wouldn't have put it post-credits. I wish it would have just been the end. Because I feel bad for the people who went and seen this in 1999 and left before they got to this. But yeah, that was a much better ending than the CGI argument that went on.
All right, so gonna run through these facts real quick. William Malone got the idea to set the movie in a former insane asylum when he was filming an episode of Tales from the Crypt in a former asylum, and noticed the crew members were running scared out of the basement, not wanting to film in there. Thought that was interesting.
This definitely has a Tales from the Crypt slight vibe to it.
Yeah. Marilyn Manson was considered for the role of Dr. Vannicut. That would have been cool.
Yeah.
The first person to be killed in the movie, which is, if you remember, it is the orderly who gets the bunch of pencils stabbed through his neck. He's actually the screenplay writer, Dick Beebe. So several scenes were cut from the film due to pacing and other issues. Some of them were later released as bonus content on the DVD and Blu-ray. These scenes include Sarah arguing on a movie set with her obnoxious film producer manager, the real Jennifer Jensen, and discovering the invitation to the party. Eddie rescuing Sarah from Dr. Vannicut's corpse pit after the floor beneath them collapses, and in an epilogue featuring the Jennifer Jensen character and a real estate agent, Dick, who was played by Jeffrey Combs, who we seen play Dr. Vannicut, arriving at the house after the events of the film to look around. Alright, so, ratings and kill count. There's a lot of different versions of kill counts on here, so I just kind of did my own. Total kills is 11.
Wow.
Yeah, we have the orderly at the front desk who was stabbed in the neck with the pencils. the nurse who got drowned in the bathtub by the inmate. We have the nurse who was strangled by the inmate. And we have the nurse who was beaten to death by an inmate. She had the camera. We have Dr. Vanica, who was murdered by the inmates as well. We have Melissa, who died somehow and then got chopped up. Price is his employee who had his whole skull bitten off by a dinosaur. Blackburn, who was stabbed to death by Evelyn with the scalpel. Evelyn, who was eaten by the evil black cloud. Pritchett, who was eaten by the evil black cloud. And Price, who was eaten by the evil black cloud. So favorite kill, I'm up first. I went with the orderly at the front desk who got the pencils through the neck. I like that. I would have went with Melissa, but we didn't really see her kill. How she got chopped up. I would have went with that. But considering kills we've seen, I went with the orderly. And then the close second, if I could count it, would be the Melissa. I don't know if we were counting it or not. So
Yeah, that's funny. This was a hard one to do because we only actually see one of the characters from the movie, like the main characters actually get killed.
Yeah.
And that's Dr. Blackburn.
Most of the characters that we see get killed get ate by the smoke.
Yeah, and then Melissa, who we don't even see her get eaten by black smoke. She's just gone. So yeah, I went with the orderly too.
Nice.
There's really no comparison. But it's funny, I put a close second, I would pick Melissa. Although we don't see her die, I really enjoyed seeing her body cut up.
I agree. All right, so a rating. I gave this movie a 2.3. I think the characters suck. The dialogue could definitely be better, but I do really like the idea. I like the imagery. I think the imagery saves the movie. They did have a good plot twist. The movie had some really creepy shit that looked really awesome. I also found the going back and forth to the basement thing to be repetitive. They should have maybe did that twice and that was it. But overall, man, it's okay. It would probably be another 10 years before I watch it again, though. To be honest, I probably am good on this movie for quite some time. If I did go back and watch it, I would just really want to go back for the creepy scenes that we talked about, and that's really it. So yeah, 2.3 for me.
Oh, that's rough.
Yeah.
I gave it a 2.9.
Oh, yeah, a lot better than me.
Yeah, it gets. I mean, it's 1999. It's a Dark Castle movie. Yeah, it is what it is. We spoke throughout the plot of a lot of the stuff I didn't like, so I'll try to find some things that I did like. Plot twist was really good. I thought it did have a slow start, but it finished strong, especially after the plot twists. The characters, they were pretty awful. The score was good. The set was really good.
Yeah.
I thought the set was amazing.
The set and the imagery, man. They saved this movie.
Yeah, that's actually, I put the shining gem of this movie is its imagery. The imagery is beautiful. The sets are great. That's one thing about Dark Castle movies. They generally have some really, really cool looking sets. As far as the imagery goes, especially in that scene we talked about where Mr. Price is going crazy, I thought that should have been the whole movie. Like, they should have used the imagery and stuff. I mean, that gave off, like, really creepy asylum vibes so well.
It should have kicked off faster, too. Yeah. That's a big thing.
Yeah, agreed. My biggest complaints, this outside of the characters, is the CGI. I understand it's the late 90s. CGI wasn't at its best. But I do wish that they had the awareness not to rely on it so much. I think having practical ghosts, like they had in 13 Ghosts, would have eliminated them having to rely on CGI as much, but also would have opened the door for them to introduce some really creepy characters that were the ghosts. I think that could have elevated this movie a lot.
I think this was really the beginning of horror movies. Kind of, we had that period where they ditched a lot of practical and they went CGI. I think this was the beginning of that.
Yeah, and they went heavy. But, 13 Ghosts came out after this. And the shining gem of 13 Ghosts is the ghosts themselves.
Yeah.
Like, that's what everybody remembers. They didn't, that movie, I don't even think it would be memorable at all if it wasn't for the amazing ghost that they did. Like, the jackal and the jackhammer. God, what's the other big one? The Juggernaut.
The Juggernaut, yeah.
Yeah, those three are so fucking scary. Had they did the orderlies like that, where they had different character orderlies that were the ghosts in this movie going after people, I think it would have elevated it a lot, and it would have eliminated their need to lean on CGI so much. Because the end of the movie, the whole climax, is just them running from a very bad-looking black mist of dust and smoke, or whatever the fuck that thing that's supposed to be a ghost is. Overall, it's 100% Dark Castle feel. They got better as they went on, making movies out of their main big movies. They have their ups and downs, but they're fun movies if you go into it with that understanding.
Well, once again, we thank you guys for listening. Please give us a follow or like if you enjoy the show. Check out our website, check out the socials. Next week, we begin our Halloween episodes, and we are kicking it off with Terrifier 2 in preparation for the release of Terrifier 3, which we got tickets to see the very first showing a day early. So be on the lookout for a fresh meat review on that. I am so fucking excited.
Yeah, I feel like that's going to be a long fresh meat review.
Probably is. Tell a friend, a family member, or an evil black cloud fueled by revenge about the show. We hope to see you next time. Any last words?
Not for this one.
She's not dead. We just got to get her heart started again.